This morning on DC News Now.
Democracy is literally on the ballot.
A major midterm election.
Like they've never seen before.
Today, you choose the future of the DMV and beyond. With the economy, public safety, and abortion rights on the line, the Blue Wall hoping to stand tall.
Challenges that families are facing right now that they're just asking that we move with a sense of urgency to address.
And the Red Wave looking to make a splash.
We've seen the swing voters turn our way in a huge way.
From Annapolis to Northern Virginia and right here in the district, DC News Now is your local election headquarters.
All right, it is 6 o'clock on this Tuesday morning. Happy Election Day. I'm Corey James. Tanaya Wright has the morning off. We are your local election headquarters this morning with live team coverage all day long, tracking the big races around the DMV and across the country this morning. But we begin first with DC News Now's Lex Wars, who is covering leaders for up for election. Kristen Matino in studio breaking down what you need to know before you cast your ballot. But first, let's get with Joseph Omo, who is live in Annapolis as people in Maryland head to the polls to pick a new governor. Good morning, Joseph.
Hey, yeah, Corey, good morning from the governor's mansion here in Annapolis, Maryland. You know, Governor Larry Hogan has called the house behind me his home for the past 8 years. And as soon as tonight, we could very well know who the next person will be to move in to the government house here in downtown Annapolis. So take a look. Here is what is going to be at the very top of your polls this morning if you are a Marylander headed to the ballot box. It is a matchup between political newcomer and Democrat Wes Moore and Trump-endorsed Republican state delegate Dan Cox. 48-year-old Cox, a conservative, has called the 2020 election stolen. He took steps earlier this year to try to squash early ballot counting in the state. That did not work out for him. He also talks a lot about tackling inflation in the economy. And on abortion, his website says he will, quote, defend the right to life. Wes Moore is quite a shift in the opposite direction, guys, endorsed by both former President Obama and Oprah. The 44-year-old Army veteran goes by the slogan, leave no one behind. He vows to take on poverty, improve health care costs, and revamp schools.
Here in Maryland, we have some of the nation's most prosperous communities and some of its most impoverished. World-class medical institutions and people who can't afford basic care. Some of the best schools and some of the most underfunded.
I will end the mandatory jabs for jobs and restore our medical freedom. I will roll back the never-ending unconstitutional executive orders which are turning Maryland away from our values. I will end Maryland school programs which teach our children to hate their country and each other.
All right, state of play this morning as Marylanders head to the poll in the next hour. Right now, polls show that Wes Moore has not just a small lead, a significant lead over Republican Dan Cox. One of the more recent polls from Washington Post and from the University of Maryland shows that Wes Moore is leading by 32 points. Polls open here in Maryland at 7 o'clock in the morning. Corey, back to you.
All right, about an hour away. Thanks so much, Joseph. Well, it's one of the biggest races in Virginia. Democratic Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger up against Republican challenger Yesli Vega. Political analysts spending weeks saying the result of this race could be the one that signals a trend for the rest of the country. Now, Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin rallying with Vega in her district yesterday. This after getting out for Republican candidate Hung Cao in District 10.
The contrast is clear. I've been serving here at the local level on the Board of Supervisors for 3 years. I have a record that I'm proud of, a record that speaks for itself. My opponent can't say the same thing. That's why she ran away from the debate, the one debate that we had scheduled, and that shows her lack of respect for the voters of the 7th District.
In our race, I am focused on telling people what it is I've been able to do, what it is I've delivered for the people of the 7th District of Virginia. I'm reminding people and making sure people know that I'm the most bipartisan member of the Virginia delegation.
And both Spanberger and Vega are getting support from top politicians in Northern Virginia, but it all comes down, of course, to what happens tonight. And in D.C., there are a lot of big races on the ballot, from the highest level of local government to the lowest. Lex Morris is live this morning at a voting center in Northeast D.C. with the latest. Good morning, Lex.
Good morning, Corey. Well, Mayor Bowser is expected to be coming out here to this voting center a little bit later this morning to cast her vote. She is running for her third term as the mayor of D.C., and she does face 3 different candidates across the political spectrum who are also vying for that title. Now, even with her having the 3 competitors and some voters taking to social media with their choice to write in other options, Mayor Bowser is expected to be reelected today. Now, at a press conference on Monday, she declined to take any statements or make any statements about the outcome of the race, but she did answer questions about some scrutiny that she currently faces as more and more teenagers in the city are becoming victims and suspects in violent crimes and carjackings. And the mayor addressed how she will work to tackle the growing issue in a new term.
They trust my leadership. They know that I will be there to make the tough decisions. They know that I will work with everybody in the public safety system, and that I will demand that we as a government do all that we can to keep every neighborhood safe. They also know that I'm going to go.
Well, district residents are also voting on several new council members. The at-large race has both seats open, with 3 sitting council members running for those seats and 5 other people vying for the spots. The election will also name a council chair, as current council chair Phil Mendelson is up for re-election for that seat, and he does have a competitor. There are also 4 other council seats that are on the ballot for various wards around the district. And on top of that, we're going to come out of this election today with a new attorney general, and that's going to be the second attorney general to be voted in by the residents of D.C. Polls are opening at 7 o'clock here in just under an hour, and they will be open until 8 o'clock tonight. Of course, you can count on us to bring you those results as they start coming in. Live in Northeast D.C., I'm Lex Juarez, D.C. News Now.
All right, Lex, thank you. Meteorologist Jackie Larry, as you saw, Lex is live there where the mayor is expected to vote this morning. Is the weather going to be good for her and other voters today?
Well, it's going to be colder, especially in comparison to yesterday's record-breaking warmth. So as you're stepping out the door right now, certainly will need that heavier jacket. Here's a view of those current temperatures. Upper 30s to low 40s, especially along the I-81 corridor and areas off towards the north and west, but closer towards the district. We're coming in right into the low 50s. But when you're talking about a difference of about, say, 10 to 20 degrees colder than yesterday morning, those 50s feel much colder than what it actually is. But the wind right now mainly out of the north between 5 to 10 miles per hour for many, but notice in the district we're seeing that wind picking up closer towards 20 miles per hour sustained wind. So that's making it feel a little bit colder in the actual air temperatures. It's feeling like it's into the upper 40s right now in the district. Low 40s is what it feels like for many as you're stepping out the door to cast your ballot, especially for later on today. We'll see those temperatures climbing upper 50s by about noon today, right about 60 as we look ahead towards later on this afternoon. And again, this is much more seasonable for this time of the year. We're not talking about record-breaking warmth for the day today. We're talking that we're finally back to normal. We're back to reality out there for your Tuesday. Tomorrow also seasonable, and then we'll see those temperatures do moderate back into the 60s by Thursday. Next best chance for rain. That'll be on Friday. I'll have more details on that coming up in just a few minutes. But right now, I do want to toss it over to Shanika with the all-important traffic update. How's it looking out there this morning? What do people need to avoid?
Well, I have good news and bad news. The good news is that traffic has been reduced to only 2 right lanes blocked. Earlier, you were looking at 3 lanes blocked. Now it's just 2. You're still seeing cars getting by. This is on the outer loop stretch in Lanham right near 50, and you're just still seeing a major delay there. Look at all that red, and this is a point right near 202, right before that sun comes up, which looks pretty nice. Now over to the rest of the Beltway through Greenbelt, Berwyn Heights, it's all looking okay. You're all in the green. Same with 66 through Centerville, Fairfax, and beyond. We normally have this work zone, not causing any delays at all. The Mixing Bowl is looking pretty good in green. 95, we did see some problems through Lorton. It was just a slowdown there, but right now it is gone. So that is also looking very nice. A 70 heading east and west, no problems. 270 north and southbound, you're almost up to 40 minutes. And then over to that outer loop stretch 95 to the 270 spur 15.
All right, hopefully it doesn't get too bad for those folks heading out to vote. Thanks so much, Shanika. Your time right now is 6:09. As you wake up this morning, we are helping you prepare to head out to the polls. DC News Now's Chris Sabatino is in studio with everything you need to know, from those voting times to what you need to take with you to cast your ballot. Good morning, Christy.
Good morning, Corey, and happy Election Day. Two things to make sure you are aware of before you head out this morning. One is the times that voting will be open, and two, what you need to bring to the polls. D.C. and Maryland voters can hit the polls between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. If we go over to Virginia, polling sites will be open from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. In West Virginia, you'll be open from 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. You can vote as long as you're in line by closing time. So then what do you need to bring? Well, if you're a first-time Maryland or D.C. voter, you'll need either a valid photo ID or a proof of residence like a utility bill or a bank statement. Otherwise, no identification is needed. Now, in Virginia and West Virginia, a form of ID or proof of residency is needed regardless of your voting history. So if you're unsure if you're registered to vote, how can you check? You can make sure on the Maryland State Board of Elections website, or if you're in Virginia, heading over to the state's Department of Elections website. In studio this morning, Christy Mattino, D.C. News Now.
All right, Chrissy, thank you. The big question this morning across the country, can Republicans take back control of Congress? There's been a lot of talk about a red wave gaining momentum. Now, current polling shows Republicans are likely to gain control of the House and possibly the Senate as well. News Nation political editor Chris Sturwalt predicts it will be a big swing in Republicans' favor. He says Republicans are poised to win about 20 House seats. However, in the Senate, several races are neck and neck, including in Georgia and Pennsylvania.
In one of these contested races where there's a Democrat on defense, whether it's Georgia, whether it's Arizona, or whether it's Nevada, the Republicans are going to find the way to get through in one of those places to take over the upper chamber.
Now, we may not know the outcome of every election tonight, as some states cannot count ballots beforehand, those mail-in ballots at least. In Georgia, if neither candidate gets 50% of the vote, voters could be looking at a runoff. And if you want to learn more, DC News Now is your local election headquarters. We have everything you need to know right now on our website, dcnewsnow.com. You can also download the DC News Now app on your cell phone or your smart device.